Okay. Okay, back again. See, I was interrupted again by a telephone call. I've turned it over. I'm not looking at it. It's gone. Okay, so we talked about the purpose and character of our use, and I told you that my use was for educational purposes. Now, the nature of the copyrighted work. Okay, the nature of my work is a book. As simple as that. You might have reason to use 20 seconds of a recording. Let's say you're giving a speech, and for educational purposes, you need to use 30 seconds of a YouTube video in your speech. That is fair use. You have 20, 25 seconds to use it, and I'm allowing you to do that, and it's under fair use law. Okay, so lots of different things. TVs, movies, books, directions, you name it, anything that's published. Okay, then the third factor is the amount and substantiality of the portion taken. So if I said, like I just did, I gave you an example of taking a video off of YouTube and using 20 to 25 seconds of it. Okay, that's the amount you're going to use. We try to be very careful of using 10% or less of whatever it is that we're taking. So if I am using one chapter of our textbook, there happen to be 12 chapters in there. Okay, so if I count chapters, I could do 1.2 chapters and get away with that pretty clearly. If it's a matter of pages, if it's 200 pages, I can use 20 pages and for my class, and that would be acceptable. I cannot continue to use that. Once I've used something from that book, and I've used up to 10% of it, that's it. I can't continue to use it all semester, or else I would be giving you the book. And then we have the effect of the use upon the potential market. So if I take my class of, I think we have 11 people in our class right now, and I expose you to 1/10 of this woman's textbook, Packard, how much damage am I doing to her pocketbook, her ability to earn revenue from the book? Well, in my class, I'm not hurting any of her ability because I'm using 10%, and then I'm turning around and saying to you, okay, you've heard and you have access to the first chapter, but you need access to the entire book, so you must buy the book. Used, new, rent it, whatever. Okay, so I am not preventing this author or publisher from making any money whatsoever. And that's the way we should look at fair use. We'll get into more about that, but right now that's enough for fair use. Then I'm going to begin with basically a background of digital media law. So if you want to open up, let me find myself. You want to go open up Digital Media Law, Basics of American Law, Part 1. That is the PowerPoint that we're going to be talking about right now. And I'm just going to take you through the basics. So, law is a system. This is really, really important. Law is a system to guide behavior to do one of two things, or both things: protect the rights of individuals and to ensure public order. Those are the reasons why we have law. Quite simply, to protect the rights of individuals and to ensure public order. Penalties for its violation are carried out by the state. State meaning government. Digital technologies are in an almost constant state of flux, so the laws are changing rapidly. The laws that govern this environment are in a constant state of adaptation. That means our law can be adapted. Our law is not carved in stone. even though you may see some laws carved in stone on some government buildings, our law changes frequently. What you see our senators and House of Representatives doing, well, actually, they haven't been doing it for about 3.5 years, but usually what they do is make law. The basic structure and guiding principles of digital media law, that is, what are the laws online, are founded on our real world or bricks and mortar legal system. So the things that we have already seen in print, eventually moved over to take care of the situations that happen online, because that's what we're studying right now, digital media law. So don't forget those 2 reasons why we have law. It's very important. I might ask you, I think I will ask you, as we get into our discussion group, the question will be, why do we protect the rights of individuals? Why does anybody need to protect the rights of individuals? So we'll go into that later. The most important source of law is the U.S. Constitution. And we have 3 branches. Some of these things you will have learned in high school, I hope. But if you haven't, let's get them here, because you are going to need the law. There are 3 branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. The executive enforces the law, the legislative makes the law, and the judicial interprets the law. But as you see later on, all of these branches have a way to make law. So technically, if you want to get into it technically, these are the 3 things that we see that the branches do. But technically, they all can make law. So these are the sources of our law. Although these branches have specialized responsibilities, they all make law. Now, here is how they make law. The executive makes law through executive orders. I'm sure you've seen the president pull out a large piece and he signs it with his tall name. That's an executive order. So he can make law, certain law, not all law, but certain law, through an executive order, through his administrative agencies and federal departments. So administrative agencies are those things that fall under the cabinet, under his federal agencies. And they take care of all the things that nobody else has the time or the knowledge to take care of. Let's just call out one of them, which would affect you, and those are advertising laws. Truth in advertising. There is an agency that takes care of that. There's an agency that takes care of copyright. And those agencies will announce law, and I'll tell you in a minute how they announce that. And you, as a citizen, have the right to make a comment on that law, to say, I don't really think that's as good for the advertising industry or the newspaper industry as you say it is. This is my complaint. Could you address this? And so we have this ability, which you probably never knew about. These branches draw their power from the U.S. Constitution and therefore cannot act in opposition to it. So the president and the departments and the administrative agencies cannot act unconstitutionally. They can, but somebody will bring up the fact that they believe that this person or department or agency has acted unconstitutionally, and then this will go through the court system. It will take a long time. So sometimes people violate the Constitution because they know that it'll take a long time for somebody to stop them from doing it, unfortunately. We're on slide 5, I believe, now. Yeah, there we go. So constitutional law, it's the supreme law of the land. The only way to alter it is by adding an amendment which requires approval by 3/4 of the states. And since the Constitution was signed, 27 amendments have been added. The first 10 are known as the Bill of Rights. You will need to know the Bill of Rights, what they are, because when we talk about the First Amendment is the first amendment of the Bill of Rights. That's where it comes in. We also have 50 state constitutions. And the U.S. Constitution includes a supremacy clause that requires state courts to follow federal law when conflicts arise between it and state constitutions or state laws. So if your state is having problems with federal law, we've seen this happen quite a bit in the last 10 years, just in Alabama. Alabama did not want to allow same-sex couples to be able to marry. So the Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court told his county representatives in the county registrar's office not to give marriage licenses to same-sex couples. Well, this was in violation of a federal law, and so Alabama had to turn around and give them that right. Even though they kept a lot of people from getting that right. Those people had to go elsewhere to get their licenses. All right, we're going to continue in just a minute.